Mr. Waltz for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. And thank you so much, witnesses, for coming today. So my questions today focus on the Commercial Lunar Payload Services, CLPS, the CLPS program, which is, of course, within NASA's Science Mission Directorate and provides commercial lunar landers for S&T payloads, and has been described by NASA as the first major step to return astronauts to the moon. So I'm a supporter of the program, and in fact submitted an appropriations request to fully fund CLPS in FY 2020. Bottom line, the 21st century space race is on. The moon will be a critical part of it. On May 31, NASA awarded contracts to 3 companies under CLPS, and one of these companies, Beyond Orbit, Inc., has elected to locate its lunar lander assembly facility in my district in Volusia County, Port Orange, Florida, which is fantastic, something we are very excited about. My district is just north of the Cape, and we're looking at least 50 employees coming to our community. So my questions, and forgive me, Dr. Zerbican.
Yeah, everybody calls me Dr. Z.
Dr. Z. So a condition, and I know there's been some questions on this already, but just to clarify, a condition of the CLPS procurement stipulates that the awardees have to be U.S. companies. So, again, can you assure Florida's taxpayers that NASA will not outsource its space exploration and will continue to focus on American companies as it has throughout its history?
Absolutely. We will use the very same processes that we're using for launch capabilities, in which we assure that the majority of all design manufacturing is right here for it to be falling under any contract that we would support from NASA. We actually have initiated a review of that, an audit of that right now before we put money into that particular company. We'll do so with others. I, for now, actually think that it's a strength of the United States to attract companies that might have been invented elsewhere and come here and hire Americans and give them jobs and create economic activity right here on our soil.
No, I completely agree, and obviously there is an IP issue here. There's a national security issue. There's a number of issues wrapped around that. On top of ensuring taxpayers receive that return on investment. So thank you for that. You've also said, Dr. Z, that and I agree with my colleagues that the landers contracted through CLPS will, quote, bring us closer to solving the many scientific mysteries of our moon, our solar system, and beyond, and what we learn will not only change our view of the universe, but also prepare our human missions to the moon and eventually Mars. So just can you elaborate on those thoughts and explain how these lunar payloads and the broader science mission is preparing NASA for human missions to the moon, and again, then the follow-on to Mars?
If one looks at lunar science, what's really exciting about this is that the moon that we investigated during the Apollo program with the probes that we brought back today is a very different science discipline than then. For example, even in the last few years, kind of decade or so, kind of the prevalence of water in both on the inside of grains, but also in observed remotely from the moon, it's basically reshaped our view of our celestial companion. So we have those kind of questions that actually were mentioned in the planetary decadal that we can now do because we actually don't have to buy a whole billion-dollar spacecraft, but we have a chance of doing through this new methodology. There's other questions that relate to the absolute age of the solar system, questions that are out there that actually have sharpened our understanding of geologic activity in this planet that otherwise we did not think about before. It's those kind of questions we want to go up after, driven by principal investigators through a competitive process and taking advantage of that capability.
Well, you have a supporter here, presuming we need to spend those monies smartly and efficiently. And if, just in the interest of time, if you could submit for the record, I have Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University in my district. If you could submit for the record how the Mission Directorate partners with STEM institutions like Embry-Riddle for research and development, I'd be very appreciative.